two-stepping. Dude's got you two-stepping. Two-stepping. Then you step in. Who's repping? 'Cause who's gonna lose when it... Ha! Just you, Brennan. Who's checking? So back to the tune. Cook it. Cook it. Food prepping. Who checking? Who checking? What man a bad man? New weapon. Ah! Who's dapper? Question my blackness. Like, who's blacker? Who's blacker? What kind of slightness? Man, I'm a new rapper. New gaffer. So sticky insect stop. Glue trapper. New slapper. Madagascar when the monkeys made a poo scatter. Hello, baby. Don't be so paro, baby. Don't be so shallow, baby. We'll get the wheelbarrow, baby. You get the straight arrow, baby. I'm on the straight and narrow, baby. I wing and go sparrow crazy. Like Donald Duck and old Daisy. Hello, and today we are doing Premier League predictions for match week number 37. That's right, the penultimate week of the Premier League 21 to 22 season. And that, my friends, is the song of the weekend. Absolute swag tune from Baby. That is from Giggs. That is Baby. Big one. But obviously it's a big game week. The last home game for a lot of clubs. And let's see how we did last week. Do get your score predictions in the comments this week. The theme of the week is going to be, for week 37, Sherlock Holmes. So what can we find in this penultimate game week? Can we find the clues? Can we find the villains and the heroes? And can we detect who will be getting the title? Well, probably, because City have opened up a 3-point gap and look, they're going to win against West Ham, you'd imagine. And also, you know, they just steamrolled past Wolves, and Liverpool have to remain perfect. And City, you just don't see them dropping points. So it's a bit of a shame, really. But look, top 4 race still up for grabs. Arsenal losing heavily to Spurs, embarrassingly to Spurs. And also, relegation fight between Burnley, Everton and Leeds is well and truly on, with 2 games each for each of the clubs. Obviously, Everton have got their games against Palace and against... I'm trying to remember who the other one is now. Brentford. Whereas Burnley have got Spurs, and they've also got Villa. Whereas Leeds United have got interesting games against Brighton and Brentford. So we'll see. But let's get into how we got on last week, match week 36. Thanks for all those in the comments with your predictions. Keep them coming this week. And as always, I'll give you a shout out. I will just quickly check for you people what kind of comments we got. So, as I say, every single week you put your predictions in, you'll get a shout out on the next video. So I'll just quickly check that for you people. And whilst I do that, reminder, like the video, comment your predictions for match week 37. There are a whopping number of games this week as well, midweek action, including Everton v Palace and Leicester City. Obviously taking the trip to Stamford Bridge. So yeah, do get your score predictions in. We'll go through all the games. And as I say, the theme of the week is Sherlock Holmes, and you heard the song of the week. So I don't think the top 4 is over yet for Arsenal, but it's been taking a big blow. Look, they're still 1 point ahead, but you know, they need to hope the Spurs somehow drop points against Norwich and Burnley. It's a big ask, but we'll see. We'll see. Ultimately, though, Everton, they've got a lot to play for, so that won't be necessarily easy for Arsenal on the final day. We'll see what happens up to that point. So in terms of the video last week, obviously, as always, the scoring system, 3 points for the correct result, and for the correct scoreline, it's 5, and then correct goal difference is 3, correct result is 1, and correct scoreline is 5. So yeah, there was a lot of games to get through last week, so really appreciate the comments coming in, people. Gotta love that dedication, and hopefully we can match that this week once again. So yeah, comments in the video last week. Really appreciate the feedback from Thexeland's Opposite. You know your stuff. I really do appreciate that. So cheers, mate. But in terms of actual predictions, we got DK Jones, long follower of the channel. Really appreciate it once again, mate. He said Brentford 2, Southampton 1. Well, that was a correct result, but not a correct scoreline. 3-0 Brentford. What a win. Another
clean sheet for David Raya. They've been a solid defensive season, and Janssen pops up as well as a nice first Premier League Brentford goal for Ayer. Really well taken for a defender, so fair play. Southampton were pretty shambolic. Burnley against Aston Villa, you went for a 1-1, so no correct result there. It was, of course, 3-1 to the Villains. Great win for Steven Gerrard to get back to form, and Buendia coming in looked really, really good for them, and obviously didn't start with Coutinho, but I think he's going to be getting a bit more better performances now that he's signed a contract permanently to the Midlands club. But yeah, damning defeat that one for Burnley, who really just weren't at the races, and a late consolation from Maxwell Cornet wasn't enough to get them feeling that good about themselves. Chelsea Wolves was a big, obviously, shock, because when you see the game at 2-0, you think Chelsea, that should be done and dusted. Lukaku with a good finish of the second one especially. But Wolves, unbelievable spirit. Exactly what Watford haven't shown this season, and Wolves have got nothing to play for. So I say nothing to play for. I think they're probably too far away from West Ham now for the Europa, but ultimately, yeah, it's been a very weird season from Wolves. They've been very, very poor in periods and showing fighting spirit in others. So, yeah, not an ideal result for Chelsea. They do want to get top four. I think they will, but they're just, being a bit nervy, and the Spurs are on their heels a little bit. So we'll see what happens there. Palace, Watford, obviously the game we thought we'd lose and we'd get relegated. It did, of course, happen that way, but to go down with such a whimper was so disappointing. So yeah, no correct result for you in the Chelsea-Watford game, DK, but you did say 3-2 to Palace. So that's 3 points for the correct goal difference there. So you're up to a nice, healthy total so far of 4 points. You also went for a 2-1 United against Brighton. I think a lot of people did with that scoreline. But Brighton absolutely destroyed an embarrassing Manchester United side. That just sums up their season. They've really just not been at the races. They've just been so sloppy. And, it's laughable for Manchester United. And Erik ten Hag has got to really sort them out next season, because it's just not good enough. It's as simple as that. But great victory for Brighton. They were fantastic on the day. Trossard, fantastic. Pascal Gross loves scoring against Manchester United. And Danny Welbeck, of course, helping out Brighton's goals to haunt his former side. Also, Liverpool Spurs, huge game, obviously, in the title race and in the top four race. And it did take a twist. Liverpool dropped points, and that is ultimately where they look back, and City, when they do probably lift the title, will think, yeah, that was the moment Liverpool unfortunately couldn't keep pace. But look, City are just still unbelievable. They just don't seem to make mistakes, regardless of Liverpool's endeavour. So fair play to Spurs. That was a great point. They actually played really well. But then, Liverpool came back into it a little bit towards the last 20 minutes, got the goal, lucky from deflection off the shot from Diaz, but look, still at the point you thought, okay, it's not an ideal result for Liverpool, but because they were losing, you thought maybe that could be a crucial point. But then you see City go and hammer Newcastle 5-0, and you just think, that's City for you. Losing in midweek Champions League doesn't matter. They've got that bounce back ability, they've got that mentality, and they just remain perfect. No correct result for you again, I'm afraid, DK, for that Liverpool game. Arsenal 2, Leeds 1 is what you went for. Bang on. Very impressive, DK. Well done, mate. That was a nervy Arsenal win. And Nketiah haunting his former team with a great performance. And Leeds, were really, really just rash in this game, sending off from Ayling. And then, of course, in the Chelsea game as well, Leeds, Dan James gets sent off, and it was just needless, really, really stupid. So Leeds are in deep, deep trouble for sure. But they did at least score in this game with a late goal from Llorente at the back post. So, look, correct result. Fair play, DK. That puts you up to a total of... Can you do the maths? That was 9 points, I think. Yeah, 9 points now. Leicester Everton, you said a 2-1 Everton. He's done it. 2 in a row. Unbelievable stuff. So, another 5. That's 14. Crazy stuff. I mean, great win for Everton, but Leicester were awful. Considering they're out of the Europa League, maybe that was a hangover, but look, they had nothing to rest players for, and they just weren't at the races, Leicester, and Everton with a vital win. But will it be enough? Because obviously, not winning at Watford will be a big disappointment for the Everton lot. Watford actually played well with a second-string team. It just shows, doesn't it? We've actually got some kind of organisation when we get relegated. It's just typical, isn't it? When the players don't need to know what is important for. They just suddenly show some form of very bleak, but ultimately some form of encouragement. But yeah, ultimately Everton were really wasteful on Wednesday night, and they were much better at the King Power. So they've got a huge game this weekend for sure, hosting Brentford, and then obviously travelling to host Palace as well. So yeah, correct result again from DK. Unbelievable run there from you, DK. So you're now up to 19 points. I think you were on 14 before. Norwich West Ham 3-1. Correct result again. So 20 points there. 4-0 it was, of course, to West Ham. Norwich just so sunken, buried. I mean, you feel for Norwich because they've just always got relegated as soon as they got promoted, and Watford are starting to go down that route. We did establish ourselves for a few years, but obviously this season it's been the first time since a while, since around that 2006-07 season when we got relegated after promotion under AD Boothroyd, that we're starting to get into that league now of yo-yo clubs, along with like teams like Bournemouth and Fulham and West Brom, but that ultimately it's just the Premier League quality has moved on, and you got teams like Newcastle who are spending millions. It's just crazy, really, to compete. But look, still good win for West Ham. They're pursuing Manchester United in that top 6 race. It'll be interesting to see if United bottle it, because they haven't deserved it, to be honest. So yeah, another point there. Very, very nice stuff. 20 there. City 4, Newcastle 1 was what DK went with. It was 5-0 in the end, so another correct result. Up to 21. Great win for City. Unbelievable. Villa, Liverpool, 1-0 Liverpool is what you went for. It was a 2-1. So again, another correct goal difference. You've really had a good week, DK. It's got to be said. Very, very impressive. So I think you were on 21 just then, and now you're up to 24. So very, very strong. Leeds, Chelsea said 2-1 Leeds. Bit of a optimistic one, I would imagine. But no, it didn't happen. 4-0 was the scoreline for... No, it wasn't 4-0, was it? Or was it 3-0? It was 3-0 for Chelsea, sorry. So yeah, 24 you still remain on. 2-0 Leicester, correct result. It was 3-0, so 25. Watford Everton, you said 3-1 Everton, but a Watford clean sheet is a rare thing. And a Watford point at home is a rare thing. We hadn't got a point since Manchester United game in November, so it's an awful record of home games, but great to finally stop the rot. Even if it was a pretty awful game and nothing happened. So yeah, you still remain on 24 points there, I think, or maybe 25. I'm not quite sure. It's around that. Wolves City 3-2 Wolves. I mean, you're being optimistic there, but it didn't happen. And Spurs Arsenal 1-1. No correct result there. So I think you finished on around 24-25. You can count it if you kept track there. But still, very good week from you, DK. Impressive stuff. And also, thanks again for the comments from Ballum. And with his predictions, he said Brentford 1, Southampton 0. Correct result, 1 point. Solid stuff. 2-0 Villa against Burnley. Correct goal difference, 4 points. Chelsea Wolves 2-1. Unlucky, but still 4. Then we had a game, Palace Watford. I think Roy Hodgson will leave after the match. Fair play, to be fair. You did call it, but, he did only get appointed, obviously, Rob Edwards, the new Watford manager, just before the Everton game. So, Hodgson, he was never going to actually be out of management before the end of this season. He was going to see us through the final few games, and then he's going to go back into his shell, back into retirement. But, effectively, he did leave after the Palace game. But no, correct result there. You thought we'd actually draw, which is a rare sight, especially up against the teams like Crystal Palace that are doing all right in mid-table. Just remaining on the 4 points there. And then we had Liverpool Spurs 2-0. No, nothing for you there. 1-0 Norwich. Nope. You actually think Norwich will win a match? I think that was quite a big call. Still remaining on 4. Leicester Everton 1-0. So that's 3 points for the goal difference. Big win there for Everton, obviously. 7 points now. Arsenal Leeds 1-1, no correct result, and City 2 Newcastle 0. Didn't predict any more than that, I'm afraid, but yeah, still correct result in that Man City game. You got to be fairly happy with that. I think that's 8 points if I count that right. So yeah, not a great week, but I suppose less games predicted than DK. So let's look quickly at how I got on, and then we'll jump straight into our match week 37 predictions. We said 2-0 City against Wolves, 1 point. Liverpool, we did it, in fact, back at Tottenham victory. No points there. Leeds, Chelsea, 1-0 Chelsea. 1 point, I'll take that. City 4, Newcastle 1. Again, like DK, unlucky. 1 point. Leicester 1, Norwich 0, 1 point. Watford 1, Everton 0. I know, I was stupid, but I thought Dennis would score, and of course he was ruled out with injury. Basically, all of our team ruled out with injury, and looks they're going to be a very similar team ahead of the Leicester game on Vicarage Road, final home game of the season. But Leicester, it's a bit annoying that they got knocked out of the Europa Conference, because they now got no reason to not play a fairly decent team. By the way, as well, this weekend is the Eurovision, so have a little listen to that. That's always entertaining. Also, tonight, as we talk, Luton, disgusting scum. They somehow managed to sneak their way into the playoffs. Who knows? They must have paid the refs. I'm not going to say credit where credit's due, because they're not gonna get through the playoffs. I think they probably bottle it from here. I know I can come back to bite these words, and fair enough, football thing happened. It might happen, but I don't think they've got it in them. I honestly don't. That's not even with a Watford hat on. I just don't think, compared to the other teams in the playoffs, Huddersfield will back themselves. They've really done well under the management of Carlo. Is it Carvial or Carbral? I can't even remember. But I really rate him as a manager. But yeah, ultimately, going back to what I was talking about, and obviously there's the other playoff game against Forest for Sheffield United, so that'll be interesting. And also, FA Cup final. I think Chelsea win, though. I know it's a bit of a shock, that prediction, but I think Liverpool, they've got to be thinking about the Champions League a little bit, but I know they want to win the FA Cup. I think it's going to be narrow 2-1 Chelsea, but maybe we'll see. But ultimately, go back to Premier League. Let's get back on board. No points for Watford Everton, and also no points for me in the game between Burnley and Villa. I said a 1-1 draw for some reason. I don't know why. Brentford 2, Southampton 1. 1 point. I'll take that. Also, we said a 2-0 lead, 2-0 victory for Arsenal against Leeds. That was 1 point. It was 2-1. 1-0 Leicester Everton. Everton were pretty good in that game. No points for me there. 1 point against Norwich West Ham. 3-0 rather than 4. United 2-1. I thought they would win, but no, 0 points. And Villa 1, Liverpool 3. 1 point there. It was, of course, a narrow 2-1. We said 2-1 Spurs against Arsenal. We backed that North London would be white on this occasion. It wasn't Ben White, didn't come on, but no, it was white for Spurs, at least this match. They were absolutely so one-way traffic. It was embarrassing from Rob Holding. And then finally, Palace Watford, 5 points. I called it 1-0. We just typically were going to get relegated, and I said a Wilfried Zaha penalty as well. You just knew it. And obviously Chelsea Wolves was a bit of an upset. No points for me there with a Chelsea prediction win. So ending the week on a respectable tally, I think is the word. Respectable enough. I will take it. Just counting up again, I think it was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, it's all right. It's 14 points. We'll move on to match week 37. Big round of games, obviously, nowadays. The Premier League, there's no second chances, so you really have to take the most of the games in front of you and win them. So I'm going to go for a juicy round of matches. Let's start off, though, with this match week, and let's begin with Arsenal, who just lost 3-0 to Spurs. 2 from Harry Kane. He always scores in the North London derby, even if he was a former youth player for Arsenal. But yeah, he's been in unbelievable form. But Arsenal were just so shambolic, obviously. And also, that Arteta in the post-match conference was absolutely off his nut. Just completely fuming. In Pep Guardiola style, he's learnt well with his raging post-match. Just saying, if I speak, I am in trouble, basically, doing a Mourinho. I don't know what he was on about. He was trying to blame the decisions, but Arsenal were just not even close in that game. And they actually started the first 50 minutes quite well, but maybe that's Spurs. That was part of the plan, because they let them come onto them, and then Spurs can get in behind, and they really were just so open at the back, Arsenal. So they got a huge game on Monday night away to Newcastle, which is not an easy place to go. Newcastle have steadied the ship, certainly for Eddie Howe's tenure. And they've made St James's Park a tough place to go, with obviously Liverpool only just winning there. So we'll see what happens, but I think Arsenal still can bounce back from that defeat. Newcastle United 0, Arsenal 1. And the only goal scorer of the game, I think it's going to be an absolutely ecstatically, fantastically brilliant. I know it's a lot of superlatives there, but it's going to be a bicycle kick from BK. And you're thinking, BK? Bicycle kick? It all makes sense. BK Bukayo Saka. I know it's BK BS, but I mean the B from the Bukayo and the K from the Aka. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on to the game between Aston Villa and Crystal Palace. This is at the Villa Park in the reverse fixture. 2-1 win for Aston Villa with goals from Matt Targett, obviously former Villa player now at Newcastle, and also John McGinn and Mark Gurhey scoring for the home side Palace here. But Palace obviously away trip here, and Wilfried Zaha has been in good form. Fair play to him. Stuck away the penalty confidently, and Palace have been a bit up and down of the season, but they've also been quite solid and, you know, nice surprise package under Vieira, so he's done decently, to be fair. Villa obviously bringing in Gerrard. They had a bad start to the season with Smith in charge, but look, Gerrard has had a few little wobbles, but he's got them back to winning ways against Burnley, and they'll just want to push on really with Coutinho now permanently signed, and they, you know, got a good squad with Danny Ings and Watkins, obviously good front too. So I think Villa will win this one, and I think that Palace will struggle to keep the villains out from scoring. Villa 2, Palace 1. And Villa goal scorers is going to be Danny Ings, and I'm also going to say it's going to be Douglas Luiz. I know he did it against Liverpool. I think he'll do it again. And then the goal against Villa for Palace, I reckon, is going to be not Zaha this time. It's actually going to be Conor Gallagher, who, you know, started the season really well, but has kind of lost that impact recently. Let's talk about Villa's second game as we're on Aston Villa, because they have got another match this week, and it is a very interesting one, I think, is the word, against Burnley, because you just don't know how these teams are going to play against each other. They've never played yet this season. I say that was a really stupid thing to say. They did play last week. No, I forgot the fact they were playing each other twice in the space of 2 weeks. But the point I'm saying is they've only played once. So do we read much into it? I don't know. Ultimately, Villa at home will fancy themselves. Burnley will notice there's going to be a struggle. But I think Burnley can draw this game. I've just got a feeling Villa, they often don't do that well against teams you'd expect them to. So Villa 1, Burnley 1. And goal scorers here. For Burnley, it's going to be Josh Brownhill, and the Villa goal scorer is once again the forward, Ollie Watkins. Now, moving on to the games for Brentford this week. The game, I should say. It's Everton away. Big game, obviously, in the relegation battle for the Toffees. Brentford looking really good this season, and they're safe for another season. It'll be interesting to see if they have second season syndrome next year, but ultimately, I think Eriksen's just been an unbelievable signing, and he has got a good record against Everton. So I fear for the Toffees in this one, but their home form has ultimately been what's got them through. However, you know, their win against Leicester was good. So let's see. I think Everton will fancy themselves, though. Everton 2, Brentford 2. I think ultimately it will be a draw, which will be a bit of a frustrating one for the Toffees. Goal scorers, Eriksen, of course, then Richarlison, then a second goal for Everton from the man who also did actually do quite well for Everton at the start of the season, but has maybe trailed off a little bit, Abdoulaye Doucouré. And then the second equaliser, which will be a damning goal to concede for Everton in their pursuit of a win, which, to be fair, they have done well recently, and they're looking more likely of the three to stay up, but they really want the 3 points to get it kind of confirmed earlier. And that goal will come for Brentford from none other than Brian Mbeumo. Now, moving on to the game between the likes of Brighton and Hove Albion against, yes, you guessed it, people, it is, I actually don't even know who it is. It would help if I actually looked at that, wouldn't it? Leeds United, sorry. Leeds United, no, they have to win this game. Just not really good enough last couple of games. Where's their discipline? Where's their kind of ability to get in teams' faces? They've not been looking that good. So this is a 6-pointer for Leeds, for sure. If they can't win this one, then the writing is definitely on the wall. But even if they do win this one, they've got to hope that Everton drop points somewhere, and Burnley are in a similar bad position as Leeds. But you just look at Burnley's games, like you think Spurs away, tough one. Villa away, not easy. And then obviously on the final day they got Newcastle, which is a bigger chance of points than the tough games that Leeds have got. I think Brentford are a similar thing to Everton, but Brentford is not going to be easy for Leeds on the final day, so they have to get the most out of the games they've got. And Brighton have been really good, but Brighton have got nothing to play for. I don't know. Leeds have to win, I think, this home game, but I don't think they will. And I think ultimately Leeds are in big trouble. Leeds United 1, and it's going to be Brighton 3. Moving on to then the next game, which is a clash between the likes of Leicester City and Watford at Vicarage Road. Come on, you Horns! Last home game of the season. We've been trash all season. I just want to go home. I can't wait to see that championship season kick off. And with the new manager, Rob Edwards, who I think has been a fantastic appointment. Yes, okay, the logistics of it with Forest Green not knowing about it and Watford not telling them and all that stuff, it's not ideal. But that's football sometimes. That's just the way it goes. Because we've got in our man, and that's ultimately all that matters. And also, you've got to mention the fact that kit is looking saucy for next season, right? It's coming soon on the Watford Instagram, but it looks really nice. So I'm getting it hyped for next season. Hopefully a promotion push, and we don't just stagnate in the Championship, which a lot of clubs like Sunderland have inevitably done. So yeah, obviously looking towards next season, but it would be nice to give the lads a bit of a send-off on the final home game. Just put in a performance we can be proud of. We were fairly not horrendous against Everton. As much as we were pretty wasteful, didn't have many shots on target at all. Kalu was not great. I mean, he showed signs, but blasting over from that chance. And Damari Gray really should have scored that chance that Kalu gave away, really. So ultimately, it was a game where poor teams were up against each other, and there was just no quality. But Foster had a great game. To be fair to him, he is leaving at the end of the season now. But at the end of the day, it's a new era for Watford, and we're going to try and hit that rebuild. But ultimately, it would be nice to win against Leicester. This Leicester side, though, have just got a great win against an already relegated Norwich. James Maddison back in the goals, and Vardy just back in form and back in fitness when we don't want it. He always scores against us. Jamie Vardy scored 2 in the first half in the reverse fixture in a snowy 4-2 thriller. That was back when Dennis was back fit, scoring goals, and back when Joshua King was getting starts regularly. But those days are over. Joao Pedro should be fit for this one, and I think it's going to be a similar 11 to the side that faced Everton with Kalu, Sema, Gosling, who I actually thought was quite good against Everton, Dan Gosling. I think he used to play for Everton, if I'm right in thinking, but maybe I'm just dreaming that up. Ultimately, though, it is a big game for our own pride, nothing else. I'm going to say Watford win. Got to round it off with a home win, hopefully, even though that's impossible. Watford 2, Leicester City 1. Goal scorers, Jamie Vardy, you just know it. Then goal scorers for Watford, we're going to go for it. Ken Sema with a Premier League goal, finally, this season. And secondly, it's going to be from the back post. Oh yes, Samir. Now, moving on to the game between the likes of... I'm trying to find the next one. It is Wolverhampton Wanderers, and they are going to be taking on Norwich City. Now, this is a bit of a nothing game, admittedly, but Wolves, they are just such a weird team. Like, from one week to the next, they were brilliant again away to Chelsea, and then, I've got to be honest, that team were just shambolic in the second half against Man City. Yes, it's Man City, but, they were fantastic first half Wolves. The way they came back straight after the conceding goal of Kevin De Bruyne, but then Dendoncker scores, you think, yes, come on, Wolves, and then they just completely fall apart. But maybe that's just the quality of City. Ultimately, though, Wolves will want to win against this out-of-tune Norwich team, and I think they will. Jorginho has caught the eye recently. I think he'll get a goal, and it will be another strike for Wolves from Pedro Neto, who's been back in the team, I think, recently. So 2-0 to Wolves is my prediction. The next match we've got to predict then is West Ham United's game, home to Man City. Now, this is the biggest and only hope that Liverpool have of something going wrong, basically, is West Ham doing them a favour, because ultimately City are looking very much title winners. And West Ham, yeah, okay, they've still got more to play for. They want to get Europa League. They were really good against Norwich, and I know it's a big difference, Norwich and Man City, but, just shows what confidence can give you. And you never know in football. There has been upsets before, but City are just so imperious. So I'm going to say West Ham to draw, but it's being very, very optimistic for the title race from a objective and neutral point of view. City to draw 1-1 here, with goals for West Ham from Mikel Antonio, and then for City it's going to be that man again. Oh yes, it is so easy for Kevin De Bruyne to score goals right now. Now, let's move on to the match between Spurs and Burnley. Huge at the bottom of the table, even bigger at the top, because Spurs are only 1 point now between them and Arsenal, and they're chasing Arsenal real big time. And it was a great game for Spurs against Arsenal. They were fantastic all game, really. Harry Kane doing the bits, and Son is only one away from Salah now. He's really going to go for it the final 2 games, and Burnley, they looking really in trouble, but they'll just hope that Leeds can lose against Brighton, and then if they can get a point maybe from maybe not the Spurs game, but certainly the away trip to Villa, then Burnley will think that maybe that will be enough. But ultimately it's going to be tight. It's going to be very, very tight. Leeds' goal difference is a factor, but Burnley's form has been so up and down under Mike Jackson. So I think Spurs will steamroll Burnley here and not help the goal difference, because Spurs are just looking so confident right now. Spurs 3, Burnley 0. And then finally, we round up the last kind of round of games. We've got a clash for Southampton. Southampton, of course, they will be taking on, who is it? I'm trying to find it now. Liverpool, that's the one. This is obviously after the FA Cup final for Liverpool. I'll back a Liverpool win, but Southampton did beat them 1-0 at home this game last season. I don't think they'll do it this time. Southampton have been pretty poor this last few weeks. Southampton 1, Liverpool 2. And then we've also got Chelsea's game, obviously home to Leicester. They'll want to get that top 4 pretty much secured. But let's see how they do in the FA Cup final. I'm saying, though, Chelsea to win 2-1 on the day. I think that might be a lot, people. I think that might be a lot. If I've missed anything, then please let me know and tell me off for being an absolute plonker, because that's just me. But I'm just triple checking that we've not missed any games, because it would be a bit of a shame to do so. If we have, then oh dear. So we've done Spurs Burnley, done Villa Palace, I'm pretty sure, didn't we? Yeah, we did do that. I think that's your lot, to be fair. Everton Brentford we did. Watford Leicester. Oh yeah, by the way, the Watford Leicester game, 2-1 Watford. Goal scorers, as I say, the same as before, but the minutes, Vardy will score on 25 minutes, will go always 1-0 down, but then a comeback win, showing some character to give us hope for next championship season, with the Sema goal coming on 57th minute, and then the second Watford goal from Samir, 89th minute. Come on, we've not seen drama in the Vicarage Road Stadium at the right end for a long time. That's your lot, I'm pretty sure. Oh, Everton Palace. Nearly missed it. Everton Palace at Goodison. Huge game for Everton on Thursday night. I actually feel Palace, they actually get this win. And this will be a big blow for Everton. But I just think Palace, they're looking a decent side. Zaha's back in form. Everton 1, Palace 2. Zaha to score. Then Everton to get another goal through Anthony Gordon. But then Palace with a dagger to the Everton hearts with a strike from the fullback, Tyrick Mitchell. Right, I think that's your lot. I think that is your lot. Aston Villa, Burnley, I'm pretty sure we did go for. But if we didn't, then I'll say a 2-0 Villa. I think we did predict it. But anyway, point is, that's my predictions done. Bish bash bosh. Hope you have enjoyed. And get yours in the comment section below. Come on, you Horns. We may be championship bound for a little while, but let's go out in style in our final home game, eh? Let's do this.